In the 7th year with Ted, he still wasn't willing to marry me. One day I said to him, "Ted, I am ready to get married." He raised his eyebrows lightly, not knowing if he had heard the words clearly. "Arya, the company is currently in the IPO stage and we are all extremely busy, so I don't want to discuss this trivial topic with you for now." I smiled calmly. Perhaps in Ted's eyes, I was pressuring him into marriage. But I am indeed getting married. And the person I am marrying is not him. "It's okay, you go ahead with what you're doing, I just came to let you know." He heard my words and finally fixed his gaze on me, looking for a long time. Once, he looked at me like this, without blinking. The only difference is perhaps that the fiery gaze in his eyes has dimmed and lost its luster. Ted and I are college classmates. Today marks the 7th anniversary of our acquaintance and love. 4 years of university, 3 years since graduation. He should have long forgotten what day it is today. From the initial passion like fire to the current indifference like water. After being his girlfriend for 7 years, I still can't wait for him to say the words, "Marry me." I am not a fool, nor am I a woman who knows nothing. When a man drags you along for 7 years, it signifies many things worth delving into. Ted was taken aback for a moment, but he still spoke up, with a hint of impatience. "Arya, I've said it before, once the company goes public, I will marry you. Please don't keep bringing this up repeatedly." He glanced at me coldly and said, "Is that really how you want to get married? Are you afraid you won't be able to marry at all?" A few simple words suddenly sent a chill throughout my body. During the 4 years of university, our days were far from as good as they are now, yet they made me feel very fulfilled. We dream of the future together, taking on odd jobs to make money in our spare time. Often, we share a single box of rice for 2. He would give me all the meat dishes, and then he would swallow the remaining broth and spices with rice. At that time, Ted said we would get married after we graduated. But later, we graduated and started this company. Many times, when we passed by a jewelry store after work, Ted would always point at the diamond rings inside and say to me tenderly, "Once our company is stable, I will definitely buy the most expensive ring from this jewelry store to propose to you. But now the company is stable, and we have made money." What he said has turned into marrying me once the company goes public. Pushing once, tomorrow after tomorrow. I don't even know which words about marriage from Ted are the truth. I looked up at him and murmured, "Ted, it's been 7 years, we've been together for 7 years. On the man's indifferent face, a trace of emotion finally appeared. He crossed the desk in front of him and tightly embraced me. "Arya, I know you've been waiting for a long time, but now is a critical moment for the company, I can't be distracted. I must put all my energy into work. This is a company that we worked so hard to establish, and we have finally come this far, you should be able to understand me, right?" This time I didn't respond. I could only feel the nausea in my heart threatening to spill out uncontrollably. I am not a fool, I know his hesitation as he keeps pushing me away. I also know where the scent of perfume coming from him is coming from. In Ted's eyes, childhood sweethearts are the most touching existence. He is willing to go to any lengths for his childhood sweetheart. 6 months ago, he suddenly hired a female secretary. At that time I was quite curious about what kind of woman could attract Ted's special attention, who was usually indifferent to other women. However, I didn't care too much about this matter. Because I choose to trust Ted, to trust our feelings. Not long after hearing the news again, it was a call from the partner. Ted offended the partner for the sake of this secretary. When this incident broke out, Ted rarely had a big fight with me. I asked him in confusion. "It's just having a drink, what's the big deal? Mr. Wong didn't do anything too outrageous. Besides, when the company was just starting out and we were discussing cooperation, you even took the initiative to have me come out for drinks." As soon as the words fell, there was a loud bang. Ted, with a cold face, slammed his phone down right in front of me. Shattered glass shards flew, cutting into my ankle. "That's what you should do. Don't treat everyone like you, without a hint of femininity. Are you really such a vicious woman? Monica is still so young, and you want to let this bad influence ruin her. In that moment, my head felt as if it had been struck by a hammer, standing dazed in place. Ted's cold words kept surfacing in my mind. I never thought that I was so worthless in Ted's heart. But if I hadn't desperately participated in the drinking parties back then, the company would never have developed to this point. There will never be days when he can be so carefree and at ease as he is now. After that argument, Ted and I didn't speak a word to each other for a whole month. Finally, on his birthday, I took the initiative to admit my mistake. I personally made a birthday cake for Ted. But when the cake was delivered to the company, I found out that he had already celebrated his birthday sweetly with his secretary. From that day on, I realized that his secretary Monica was actually his childhood sweetheart. And he could put me through all the embarrassment for the sake of his sweetheart. A sudden sound of footsteps interrupted my thoughts in the office. Monica pushed the door open without the slightest pause. Holding my Ted, he instinctively pushed me away and stood up straight. I frowned slightly and deliberately said, "Secretary Monica, don't you ever knock before entering the president's office?" Monica replied with a look of grievance, "Arya, I've always been like this. Mr. Ted also said I don't need to knock when I enter the office." Although the answer had long been in his heart, at this moment, his nose couldn't help but feel a bit sour. Monica truly is the most special person to Ted. At first, Ted was extremely angry and scolded me for pushing the door open without knocking. "You say I have no sense of propriety at all. This is the company, not my home." Then, a new rule was specifically announced within the company, which is to knock before entering. Perhaps sensing that I was in a bad mood, Ted stood in front of me and only spoke after letting Monica out. "Monica is still young, and there are some things she just can't remember. Please don't deliberately target her." Every time I hear Ted say this, I can't help but laugh. When he says still young, he is only 3 months younger than me. For his blatant favoritism, I smiled this time to show that I was aware. But secretly, my hands had long since clenched into fists. I have to admit that in Ted's heart, Monica and I are completely on different levels. I straightened my collar and calmly said goodbye to Ted. "I've said everything I needed to say today, so I won't disturb you any longer. I'm leaving now." He frowned. It seemed he had completely forgotten what I had just said. Seeing that I was about to go out, Ted couldn't help but ask me, "Arya, what did you just say?" I didn't quite catch it. A wave of sourness instantly surged to my eyes, and as I took a deep breath, I was about to repeat what had happened. Monica pushed the door open once again. She paused for a moment, stuck out her tongue at Ted, looking all sweet and adorable. "I'm sorry, Ted, I forgot to knock again." Ted smiled indulgently and patted her on the head. "It's okay, what is it this time?" "Ted, it's already lunchtime. I heard there's a really good Japanese restaurant. Would you take me there?" Ted agreed without any hesitation. He forgot that I still had unsaid words. Before leaving, Ted suddenly turned around. "Arya, it's noon, do you want to have lunch together?" I was momentarily stunned. A bit dazed. Think about it, when was the last time I had a meal with him? Since Monica appeared, it seems that his world has become only about her. Coming back to my senses, I smiled and declined. "No need, you all go ahead. Some things may have long lost the chance to continue." After leaving the company, I walked straight towards the parking lot. After getting in the car, I took out my phone and realized that I had unknowingly been crying. I wiped away my tears haphazardly, took a deep breath, and called home. "Good daughter, why did you suddenly think of calling Mom today?" I held back my choked voice. "Mom, I agree with the family's opinion, I can marry at any time." "Really?" Mom's surprised voice came through, and soon she sighed again, advising me, "Mom knows you have a boyfriend you've been with for 7 years, but after all this time, he still doesn't want to marry you. As women, we don't have many 7 years to wait. Once youth is gone, this man will be even less likely to marry you." However, that being said, Mom still hopes she won't act on impulse. Marriage is a significant matter and cannot be taken lightly. At this moment, I can no longer hold back my tears. Mom, I know, I wasn't impulsive, this time I listened to you. After hanging up the phone, it took me a long time to calm down. I touched up my makeup and then headed to my destination. When I arrived at the restaurant, I frowned. I didn't expect the location I had booked to be a Japanese restaurant. It couldn't be such a coincidence that I would run into the person I least wanted to see. Just as I walked into the hall, Monica's voice came from behind me. She looked at me with a proud expression, smiling brightly. Arya, how did you end up in this Japanese restaurant? Just now Ted invited you, and you refused, so how come you're quietly following us now? You wouldn't do this on purpose, just to embarrass Ted, would you? I didn't say anything, nor did I intend to get entangled with her. Just as I frowned, my phone in hand vibrated once. The box number was sent over, and coincidentally, it was right next to Ted's box. Arya. Monica called out to me, running up and blocking my way. These days, the company has been preparing for the IPO, and Ted is already extremely busy. Can't you stop bothering him so he can have a little ease? And it seems like you are already in your 30s, right? Most people your age are already married with children. Instead of bothering Ted all day, why not think about how to live the rest of your life properly? Her series of words, even I, no matter how dull, could tell that she was provoking me again. The footsteps that halted continued to advance, the gaze calm, yet carrying a hint of disdain as it looked towards Monica. Is this the tone you use when speaking to the company leaders? Even though I am no longer employed by the company, I am still a shareholder, so who gave you the right to speak to a shareholder like this? Moreover, this is between Ted and me, when did it become your business to interfere? The fierce aura made Monica involuntarily take 2 steps back. She also didn't expect that I would have such a strong attitude. Or feeling embarrassed, she bit her lower lip and said firmly, what I said is all true. If you can't even accept these plain facts, what right do you have to be a shareholder in the company? Moreover, Ted and I grew up together, we were childhood sweethearts. He has said that in this lifetime, he will only marry me, and I am his wife. Why can't I take charge of this? Saying this, she glanced behind me and, without waiting for me to speak, put on a pitiful expression. I'm also thinking of the company. If Arya, you're still not satisfied, then just fire me. With me here, who dares to fire you? Ted walked out of the booth, his aura very low, and after giving me a cold glance, he said. Arya, Monica is just a little girl who came here to work away from home. Can you tone down your attitude as a young lady and not take out all your frustrations on her? If you have any discomfort or dissatisfaction, you can come directly to me, don't make things difficult for Monica. He directly took me as the culprit without even asking, and an indescribable sense of frustration surged in my heart. I closed my eyes, forcibly suppressing the bitterness in my heart, and let out a deep breath. Ted, aren't you going to ask me why I'm going to fire her? I originally thought he would ask nicely and then communicate clearly. But I never expected Ted to snort coldly. With your arrogant and overbearing attitude, what else do I need to ask? Monica is timid and has been pitiful since she was little. I am her only relative here, all alone. I will not allow you to do anything to hurt her. Monica, looking pitiful, tugged at Ted's shirt corner, her eyes red and biting her lip as she stubbornly said. Ted, you shouldn't be upset because Arya and I had a fight. The company was built up by both of you through hard work, and even if Arya wants to fire me, she must have her reasons. Since I was little, no one has liked me, and I've gotten used to it. Tomorrow, I will go to the company to apply for resignation. I definitely won't make it difficult for you, Ted. No way, I don't agree. In the midst of speaking, Ted couldn't hide the fleeting look of pained affection in his eyes, which I saw clearly. It was then that I realized that everything Monica had just said was true. At that moment, Ted glared at me fiercely, his voice coming from his throat like a ferocious beast. Arya, apologize to Monica. I looked at Ted in disbelief, my eyes unable to hide my daze. Apologize? I did nothing wrong, why should I apologize to her? Without waiting for me to finish speaking, the next second Ted firmly grabbed my wrist and forcibly pulled me in front of Monica. I twisted my ankle and couldn't stand firm, humiliatingly half-kneeling on the ground. Ted showed no signs of pity and said coldly, "Hurry up and apologize to Monica, my patience is limited, or else don't force me to take action." She lifted her head and met his cold gaze. I can't understand how a love that once promised mountains and seas can change so easily. For a woman, he can strike at me without hesitation. "Arya, just give up, otherwise Ted will take ruthless action against you for me." A very soft sound came from beside my ear, along with Monica's triumphant gaze. I closed my eyes in pain, not making a sound. Ted's hand slowly covered the tips of my hair. In that moment, I could feel the pain of my long hair being completely tugged by him, as if my entire scalp was being pulled up. Mr. Ted really has a bad temper, he can be so ruthless even to his own business partners. A figure emerged from the next private room and stood in front of me. He grabbed Ted's hand, stopping him from making his next move. But he also took in my current disheveled appearance. Samuel pushed Ted aside and carefully helped me up, casually saying, "I really didn't expect Mr. Ted to have such a temper. It seems I need to think more about our collaboration. I don't know if it's my illusion." Just as Samuel helped me up, a fleeting cold glint passed through his eyes. It was as if he was standing up for me. The next moment, before I could say anything, Ted's expression changed. I had also heard of Samuel, he is the president of the GU Group, and now the company wants to successfully go public, so the urgent task is to secure a major deal with the GU Group. Ted has been working hard for a long time, trying to get connected with the GU family group. I never expected that an accident would happen today. "Mr. Samuel, you misunderstood. This is just a conflict arising from the interactions among employees in the company. I am merely mediating the conflict." Ted cautiously tried to please Samuel in front of him. Monica, crying and sobbing, interjected, "Mr. Samuel, please don't blame Mr. Ted. It's all my fault, I was the one who made Arya angry, which led to such a big issue. I hope Mr. Samuel won't hold it against our company because of me. These days, Mr. Ted has been busy with company matters, as you, Mr. Samuel, have seen. We sincerely want to cooperate with your company." Before Monica could finish her words, Samuel sneered, "Do you think you have a say here? The president and shareholders of your company are all present, what right do you have to say these things to me?" The indifferent atmosphere made it unsurprising for Monica, who was pretending to sob, to burst into tears. Ted didn't dare to say another word. He hurriedly pulled her away. I stared blankly at the man in front of me, who had once been so servile and was now fleeing in disgrace, suddenly feeling as if I had been fed to the dogs for these past 7 years. The Ted of the past was so full of vigor. The Ted of today is just so hard to look at. Watching his departing figure, the Ted who once resided in my heart has now completely died. I was taken to the next private room by Samuel. After finally stopping the tears in my eyes, I expressed my gratitude to Samuel. He slowly poured me a glass of water without saying a word. It took nearly 10 minutes before he finally spoke. "Let me formally introduce myself, I am Samuel, the president of the GU Group, and also a student of Teacher Zhou." Speaking of this, he paused. "I heard from Teacher Zhou that Miss Arya has plans to get married soon. I wonder what kind of requirements she has for her partner." My cup of water suddenly froze in midair after I had just taken a sip. I instinctively glanced at the box number revealed on the door. It was only after some time that I realized the person I was set up with for this blind date was, without a doubt, the man in front of me. And the Teacher Zhou he mentioned is my mother. Even the name Samuel suddenly became unusually familiar. After understanding all of this, my cheeks suddenly flushed. Nothing is more embarrassing than making a fool of yourself in front of a blind date. "Hello, Mr. Samuel. I really didn't expect it to be you today." After a moment of hesitation, I finally stammered out this sentence. Samuel smiled and, not surprised by my reaction, teased, I heard from Teacher Joe that your boyfriend, whom you've known for many years, should be Ted. I have to say, Miss Arya is very beautiful, but unfortunately, her taste is not very good. I had just mustered quite a bit of courage, only to have it instantly dissipate with his words. He is right. My judgment is indeed poor. But at first, I did not easily agree. Unfortunately, under Ted's repeated attempts to please, she gradually fell into his trap. In the past, he would remember my menstrual cycle and make me brown sugar water on time every day. He would remember my birthday and give me 1,000 paper cranes he had folded over the year as a gift. But now, everything has ultimately changed. He only cares for his childhood friend Monica without a second thought, leaving me feeling embarrassed. I raised my head to look at the distinguished man not far away. You should be aware of my situation by now, and it is what it is. If you have no objections, I can get married at any time. After leaving the Japanese restaurant, I declined Samuel's offer to see me off and took a taxi home alone. This so-called home is actually the rental apartment we have been living in since we graduated from university. When I initially made up my mind to be with Ted, I shamelessly begged my mother to secretly lend me money to buy this house without Ted knowing. I remember the day the truth was revealed. Ted cried, choked with emotion, tightly holding me and saying he would never let me down in this lifetime. Memories of the past rolled through my mind. I smiled as I threw the tie from the table into the trash can. This is the gift I bought for Ted for our 7th anniversary not long ago. It seems it won't be needed now. Since I was preparing to leave here, I began to pack my luggage. I took everything I could carry and threw away everything I couldn't. After all, I don't want to leave behind any ridiculous memories, nor do I want the things that once belonged to me to have a second owner. I ran up and down the stairs with the box twice. Just as I was breathless and returned to the room, Ted also came back. He appeared in front of me, holding a packaged gift box in his hand, with a face full of guilt. He stepped forward with a deeply emotional demeanor and apologized to me. Arya, I'm really sorry. I was impulsive today. I didn't hurt you, did I? Ted reached out his hand, wanting to touch the tips of my hair that he had just pulled. I instinctively dodged away, expressionless in rejecting his kindness. Some things for Ted have reached a point where an apology is no longer necessary. What does this sentence mean? I believe he is also clear about it. The man pressed his thin lips tightly, his eyes revealing a hint of disbelief. He must find it hard to believe that I would actually reject his goodwill. Once upon a time, as long as he showed a hint of goodwill, I would rush into his arms like a moth to a flame, disregarding everything. I think this is also the confidence that allows him to harm me without restraint. The confidence that I can be salvaged in any situation. Arya, don't be like this. I admit that today was all my fault. I swear that from now on, I won't be as impulsive as I was today. You have no idea how much I wish I could chop off this hand of mine. He actually hurt you, it's simply unforgivable. Ted swore solemnly, shaking the right hand that had just pulled my hair. I smiled and picked up a fruit knife from the coffee table, handing it to him. In his bewildered gaze, I said, then go ahead and do it, I'll be watching. The man stood there foolishly with a fruit knife in hand. Arya, what do you really mean? What I mean is, we are completely done. Please don't show up in front of me again. I'm planning to sell this place, so please take your things and leave. Ted was taken aback for a moment. For many years, my deep love for him made it hard for him to accept my questioning. It's impossible, how could you bear to leave me? Arya, you should know when to stop. Some words, some actions, once done, cannot be taken back. I raised my head, slowly forcing my gaze back, and looked at Ted with a cold snort. I've said what I needed to say, whether you believe it or not is up to you, but I'm only giving you 3 days to clear out all your things. As soon as I finished speaking, I prepared to leave. Reluctant, Ted caught up from behind, gripping my wrist tightly and pleading in a sorrowful voice. I disagree. Arya, you know that you are the most important person in my life, How can you leave me? Without you in my life, I will die. He spoke with great emotion, touching the heart deeply. Unfortunately, a phone call distracted Ted's thoughts. Monica's sobbing voice came through the phone. Ted, it's all my fault. I ruined all your efforts these days. I'm leaving, please don't come looking for me. After the phone call ended, Ted was flustered and at a loss. He didn't even notice when his phone fell to the ground and shattered into pieces. The last time I saw him so uneasy was the day I was hospitalized for a stomach bleed from drinking too much. It seemed as if his words echoed in my ears. Arya, if you don't wake up, I will definitely go down to be with you. I suddenly called out to the man who was about to rush out. Ted, I'm giving you one last chance. If you walk out that door today, it's over for us. He paused for a moment in his footsteps, seemingly oblivious to my words. After a long while, I walked to the window and watched a black sedan rush into the night. I pushed the suitcase, closed the door, and left. This self-degrading love affair has finally come to an end. I didn't expect that the person who came to pick me up after the plane landed was none other than Samuel, whom I had just met yesterday. He stood there in a black cashmere coat, tall and expressionless. Until I walked out, a hint of warmth that was hard to detect emerged from the icy coldness surrounding me. Before I could react, he had already strode over, took the suitcase from my hand, and draped his coat over my shoulders. The climate here is a bit colder, dress a little warmer. I foolishly nodded. For a moment, I didn't even know how to respond. I could only quietly lower my head and glance at this aloof man out of the corner of my eye, but suddenly felt a warmth in my heart. At least, this is the warmth I have always wanted. After Samuel sent me back to the neighborhood, I thought it over several times, but in the end, I still couldn't muster the courage to invite him to come over and sit for a while. When I shyly looked at him, he didn't take it seriously at all, just gently reassured me, "Get some good rest, I'll come to propose again tomorrow." In a single sentence, my face became more radiant than the evening sky, and I exclaimed in surprise. "Ah, so soon?" He laughed, a hint of joy in his voice. "Yes, we need to hurry, or else I'm afraid you might run away again." I couldn't understand the meaning of this sentence, and Samuel had already driven away. Back home, my mother happily arranged the bed sheets for me, tears streaming down her face as she wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes. "My good daughter, you have finally come back." At this point, I couldn't help but burst into tears. Since I insisted on going out to start a business with Ted, I fell out with my family. It has been a long, long time since I last returned home. Ted always said that once he achieved success, he would definitely take me home and would surely win my parents' forgiveness. However, his words were pushed back again and again. Even now that the company is nearing its IPO, he still has no intention of fulfilling his promise. Looking at my mother's already aged face, my voice trembled. "Mom, this time I will never leave you again." Even my dad, who had fallen out with me, was shaking his shoulders in the corner of the living room, behind my back. After nightfall, I lay in bed. My phone suddenly vibrated. As soon as I answered, Ted's voice came through. "Arya, where have you been? I've called you so many times, why don't you answer, and why did you block my number? Why did you change the locks on the house? How long are you going to make a fuss about this?" I calmly listened to Ted's roar and coldly replied, "I've already sold the house, and we are done, Ted. There are some things I don't want to say a second time. It's impossible to end, I never agreed to end it. Our lives have just begun. How can you leave me? How can you bear to leave me?" His voice was filled with fear, yet I felt an overwhelming sense of irony. "All right, I need to rest now, don't call me again in the future." Before hanging up the phone, Ted was still frantically asking me where I was. A ridiculous question. Only now do I realize how laughable these past 7 years have been. After dozing off in a daze, the next day I was awakened by a series of enthusiastic noises. As soon as I finished getting dressed and stepped out of the bedroom, I saw that Samuel had really come to propose. A group of people carrying various gifts had already filled the house, and they continued to come and go in an endless stream. That man stood out in the crowd, particularly striking. Awake? How was your rest? I suddenly woke up and said in a panic, "Why are you here, and why did you bring so many things? Didn't I already tell you yesterday that I came to propose to you?" I was stunned for a moment, and it took me a long time to slowly say, "I thought you were just joking." The man suddenly bent down, his handsome and extraordinary face appearing in front of me. "I never joke around. When I propose, and when I say marriage, I mean marriage." My family naturally began to prepare for my wedding. The lively sounds of friends and relatives started as they sent wedding invitations. Even the windows at home were adorned with large red characters of happiness. When Ted found me, I was cutting out a double happiness character to hang on the door. "Arya, what are you doing?" Hearing a familiar voice, I turned my head. After half a month apart, he had become much more haggard. It really was hard on him. I wondered where he had found out where I lived. "Long time no see, Ted." In fact, I have imagined many scenarios of meeting him again. I just didn't expect that when I faced him once more, there would be not a single ripple in my heart. It was as if I were facing a very familiar stranger. He stumbled in front of me, looking at the character for happiness on the window of the door, revealing a mix of terror and a glimmer of hope. "Is someone in your family getting married, Arya? Congratulations." I smoothed out the few ripples in my heart and smiled slightly, saying, "Didn't I already tell you that I'm getting married? But thank you for your blessing." In an instant, Ted seemed struck by lightning. He ultimately couldn't steady himself and fell to the ground. After a brief moment of confusion, he grabbed my pant leg, his terrified voice coming out in broken fragments. "I know, Arya, wait for me. I will go buy a set of groom's attire right away. We are getting married, this time we will definitely get married, nothing can stop us from being together." I don't know why, but seeing him with this helpless expression now makes me feel disgusted. After waiting for him for so long, he actually shows up now. I took 2 steps back and shook off his hand. "Ted, I'm sorry, my groom is not you." He stretched out his hand in the air, which suddenly froze. After a long time, he finally managed to utter in a hoarse voice, "It's impossible. Arya, you love me so much, how could you leave me and marry another man? You said you would always be with me, this is the promise you made. But you also said you would marry me, yet you keep postponing it, not fulfilling your promise." I interrupted him without hesitation, "The one who broke the promise first is you, Ted, so you can't blame me." Suddenly, he seemed to be frozen like cement, and in his ever-expanding pupils an endless fear spread out. I lost interest in continuing to argue with him and turned to go inside the house. Mom asked who I was talking to outside the door, and I replied slowly, "Someone I know, but not too well." At that moment, a heavy thud was heard outside the door, accompanied by a faint groan. I calmly pushed my mother into the house and continued discussing my marriage. Until the next day, I opened the door to take out the trash. Ted was actually curled up in the hallway. Seeing me, he immediately struggled to get up. "Arya, give me one more chance, this time I will not let you down." He spoke so pitifully that he wasn't even prepared to keep his last shred of dignity. "Otherwise, I will keep watch at your doorstep, and I won't let you marry anyone else." I really can't understand this man. When I no longer want you, why do you have to act as if you are deeply in love with me and can't live without me? Ignoring the somewhat crazy Ted, I directly called the police. When he was taken away, he still called my name as if he had gone mad, saying he loved me over and over again. In the days that followed, Ted did not appear again. Until the day of my wedding, when Ted showed up at the ceremony, dressed in a groom's outfit. In the crowd, he stumbled towards me, holding the diamond ring he had promised me back then. "Arya, look at this diamond ring I bought. We can get married." I looked at the diamond ring in his hand with a cold smile. I extended my hand, gesturing to the larger, more dazzling ring already on my ring finger. "Ted, why should I give up this diamond ring for someone like you who is nothing?" The man suddenly slumped to the ground as if he had lost all his spirit, muttering to himself repeatedly, "How could it be? How could you really give up on me?" Just then, Monica rushed in a hurry. She grabbed Ted, her face contorted, and shouted hoarsely. "Ted, you still like this woman, don't you? Didn't you say that it was just a fling with her? You said your favorite person is me. Don't forget that when you seduced me into bed, you said you would marry me." Such a shocking statement left everyone present in astonishment. This man is simply garbage, wanting to play both sides. Fortunately, the girl from the Song family woke up in time, otherwise, she would regret it for the rest of her life. Although I had my suspicions long ago, hearing this fact now still ignites a fire of anger within me. Ted really didn't expect you to be so sentimental. You can generously give the same line to several women. Aren't you afraid of committing bigamy? At that moment, the prideful Ted completely exploded. He rushed up and grabbed Monica's arm, pulling her up in a fit of anger and humiliation. "Are you crazy? I've taken care of you for so long, and now you want to ruin my good thing? Do you really think I wouldn't dare to hit you? You are just an ordinary family, what makes you think I would marry you? You always compare yourself to Arya, but have you ever looked at yourself to see where you can compare to Arya? If it weren't for this face of yours, you wouldn't even have the qualification to get close to me." As soon as Ted finished speaking, Monica completely lost it. Screaming, she tried to grab his face, but Ted had already prepared and kicked her away. But he didn't expect that this time Monica was prepared. She pulled a fruit knife from her pocket and lunged at Ted. Ted's eyes widened. The two embraced tightly in a position of close embrace, the crimson blood gradually pooling on the ground. Immediately, Monica attacked Ted like a madwoman, stabbing him again and again, while shouting, "You are mine, and no one can take you away." Suddenly, a pair of gentle hands covered my eyes, and a soft whisper came to my ear, "Don't look, it's too bloody, come with me." Samuel's big hand pulled me outside. When I opened my eyes, I realized we had arrived at a hall. All my relatives and friends are already waiting for my appearance in the hall. Samuel slightly raised the corner of his mouth and reached out his right hand to me. "Let's begin, my dear lady." I couldn't help but laugh, reaching out to hold his palm. In the fervor of youth, it is inevitable to encounter some wrong people. But as long as you keep going, the right person will definitely appear before you.